Hello YouTube, hello Facebook. I wanted to take the time here to create a short video on how to utilize your Easyscriber. This should be especially useful for Fusion users. If you use SheetCam, I'm sorry I don't have a video on that since I don't use SheetCam, but there are a plethora of videos out there showing you how to set up the rules and cut paths for that. So let's get started. Now, what I am going to do is simply insert a DXF here that I have. So, you could go ahead and start with any drawing, anything you created, whether it's an SVG, DXF, something you drew on here, and go ahead and get that opened up. Now, the next step is I'm going to implement here not only scribing this design that we've got in front of us, but also cutting it out. So, you can etch this, create your little design, and then go ahead and perform a cutout of this part. So let's go into our sketch for that DXF we just inserted. Let's go ahead and create a little border around it. That should do. And we are done. So the CAD process of this is done. We could go ahead and move over onto CAM. And CAM is pretty much run the same way, except with specific rules implemented. So let's go ahead and create our setup. Our first setup will be for scribing. Of course, you can name it whatever you'd like, but I just call it scribing for the sake of this video. And let's go ahead and follow up with our profiles. So, if you've never used an Easyscriber, don't fret, it's super easy. You can utilize any existing tool you have in your tool library. So for those that plan to, do easy scribing often, I would suggest you make your own tool in your tool library. That way you can always select it. Otherwise, you can take a pre-existing tool and just utilize that. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to Hypertherm 16 gauge, and you'll see it's got my feed rate already in there. Now, a feed rate that I suggest you use, at least to start with, is 100 inches per minute. This seems to be kind of the universal number that a lot of people suggest. It's worked well for me, so hopefully it works well for you. But yeah, just go ahead and change it to 100. Let's go ahead and move over to geometry. And now, again, if you're a Fusion user, you're going to have different ways in which you create your profiles or select your geometries. Because this is a really simple design, I'm just going to go ahead and click on each closed loop here. But, you could do this a multitude of ways, whether it's a 3D item or 2D, or if it's a really intricate design, you could go ahead and go to your sketch, your actual sketch drawing, or just, click each individual one like I did here. So once you have all your geometries selected, I'm going to go ahead and go to passes. And this is where we are going to utilize different rules. Something similar to, relief cuts as if you're bending metal. So what we need to do is we need our scriber to start on the actual design line. So we're going to change sideways compensation to center. And we are also going to remove lead in, lead out, as well as changing our pierce clearance to 0. So once we do that, we pretty much have our cut path. So let's go ahead and simulate this, show it to you guys. And you can see it starts right on the actual drawing with no lead ins, no lead outs, no offsets. So once you're happy with that and you're sure that this is the way you're going to scribe this out, let's go ahead and exit simulation and finally create the G code for this. So just go to actions, post process. And the only rules you need to implement here that you would not for plasma is you want to go ahead and enter a negative value for both your pierce height and your cut height. So you can see I've got negative 0.2, negative 0.2 on both of those, as well as removing pierce delay, and lastly, disabling THC. Now it's important you disable THC because if you leave THC enabled and you run this file, you will run into an error code where once you run this file on fire control, it's gonna stop. It's gonna tell you it doesn't detect any voltage. So make sure you turn off THC, although IHS will still work as intended. As far as the negative values here go, um, you could start with something as low as negative zero point 0.1 for your pierce and cut. Just know that the way the Easyscriber works, the assembly consists of a tip as well as a spring behind that tip. So the harder you compress that assembly towards the metal, the deeper it's going to scribe. But since we are using these on CNC plasma tables, it's important that you do not apply too much load to that because they're not meant for that kind of use. So I like to use something like negative 0.2, and that has worked well for me. And if you find that, this isn't enough to give you a nice scribe, just go ahead and, run multiple passes. I know of a couple people that run multiple passes and are really happy with the end results. So once you have those values in there, again, no pierce delay, no THC, you can go ahead and post. So now that we have our scribe G-code, we can go ahead and create the G-code for our cutout here. So let's go back to setup. We're going to create a new setup, and I'm just going to call this cutout. We'll go ahead and create our profile for that. Again, now using our actual feed rates, let's go ahead and click our geometry here, flip this around, and let's go ahead and throw a couple figures in here, and we are done. So we have the G-code for scribing this out, as well as we'll go ahead and do the G-code for this setup here, and that would be simply for cutting out this border here after we're done scribing. So once all that is done, just simply, open up Fire Control, load up your software, load up your G-code for scribing. Go ahead and remove your consumables, install your Easyscriber, go ahead and run the code for this, and once you're done scribing this, just return to work 0. Go ahead and load up the G-code for your cutouts, replace your Easyscriber with your consumables, fire up your plasma cutter, and go ahead and cut this out. So you have your scribed part, your item, as well as the item cut out there. So that's it. I hope you guys found this video useful. I don't make too many videos, but if you guys are finding these videos to be helpful, I'd be happy to make more. Throw a like on there, go ahead and subscribe. It really helps. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to throw them up and I'd be happy to answer them. Thanks so much.